For today's tutorial, we're going to take some basic layer styles and blending options and apply it to a flat logo to achieve a different kind of look, a different kind of an effect. So what I've created here is a fairly large project, 3000 by 3000 pixels, and I changed the background to a light gray. And let me show you what we're going to do as the final product. We're going to take this logo and we're going to add some effects to it to make it look like this. Now the original logo looks flat like that. So we're going to take this logo, this flat logo, and just by using layer style options and blending options, we're going to make it look like this. So I'm going to shut off the final product, but we will be referring to it throughout the tutorial. Okay, so we have this flat logo, and what we're going to do is we're just going to bring up the blending style options, the layer options and the blending options, and there are several ways to do that. In the layers panel, I'm just going to double click on the layer that I'm looking at right now, and that will bring up the layer style options. So as you can see, there are several options here that we can choose from. We're only going to use a few of them, but we will achieve the look that I showed earlier. So the first thing we want to do, and let me go back and refer to the initial logo. We're going to work with these outside margins here, so the red and the white. Okay, so let's go back to our layer styles, and there's an option here called stroke. Okay, so let me just shut this, let me just erase this now. So just to let you know, if you see a plus sign in one of your options, that means you can add an additional of that particular effect, and stroke is one of those, and we're going to actually take advantage of that right now. So I'm just going to click into stroke, and as you can see, options come up for stroke. Now stroke is basically an outline, and you have several options within here. You can have the outline go outside of the logo. You can have the option go inside the logo, or you can have it in the center. Okay, so let's go and change the color to white, because white was one of our options. And all I'm going to do is click on this little color box here, and it'll bring up the color picker. And I'm just going to select white. You can see white is the color. You can see it's reflected over here on our image. Hit OK. I'm going to change the position to outside, so it's outside of the logo. And let's change the size. Now you have options with the size too. As you can see, I could just move the size up and down. I'm going to pick 8 as the size and click off and show you what it is. Okay, so right now we have white on the outside, and in our final product, you can see we used two logos, two strokes, two outlines. So let's go add another outline. So I'll go back in to my blending options, and remember, we have the plus sign there. So I'm going to add another stroke, and it made an exact copy. So I have two white strokes. So let's go to the new one and just simply change the color to red, and I'll hit OK. Now, what you notice is that you don't see the red, and that is because there's a precedence here. Just like your layers have precedence from top down, your effects have precedent from top down. So the first stroke you can see is white, the second stroke is red. They're in the same exact position, so the white takes precedence. Now if I shut off the white layer there, you can now see the red. Okay, the other thing is, if I change the position, if I move red on top of the white, which I'll do right now using the arrow below, now you'll see that the red is on top and white is below. Okay, so this is really not helping us because we want to see both of them. So the simple solution here is, let's just go to the white layer, and instead of making it outside, let's make it inside. So now that we've dropped it inside the logo, now you can see the effect. So we used 2 strokes. One's on the outside, the red, one's on the inside, and that's the white. Okay, so let's refer back to our original that we're looking for. And as you can see, we've taken care of the red and the white. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is let's work on the inside here of the logo, and let's add a pattern to the logo, and then after that we'll add a color to it. So I'll shut off the layer, and we'll go back into the layer style options, and there's an option here called pattern overlay. So I'm going to click on the pattern overlay, and there are several patterns, actually a lot of patterns, a few dozen patterns that you can add that come default with Photoshop. And if you click around inside those patterns, you can see that the pattern is changing inside the logo. All right, so we can just click around and find one that we think we like, and we can start using it. So let's go with this one for now, and it's called Pebbleboard. And just to let you know, if you want to add libraries of patterns, you'd go up to the gear and just come down here on the right and just pick out the groupings of patterns that you'd like to see in your palette. But for now, we'll just go with this one. And I'm just going to hit OK so we can take a better look. So that looks pretty good right now. So let's leave the pattern for now, and then we'll add a color to it later. The next thing we want to do is, and I'll refer again back to the original, let's add an outline or a shadow to the logo. And of course, there's an option for that also. So let's go back again into our layer style options, and over here at the bottom there's an option called drop shadow. So I'm going to hit the drop shadow, and you can see there's a lot of options for drop shadow. Okay, so right now I just have it at a distance of 27. So let me just show you what they all do. So here's your distance slider, how far away from the logo you want it to be. So I'll just tighten it up just a little bit. We'll keep it around 20. The spread, how much do you want to spread it out? We'll keep that fairly low too. And then the size kind of breaks it up if you wanted. All right, and we can do that a little, give it a little bit of a more shadowy look. The other interesting thing is, if you notice, there's this little circular icon here, and there's it's not an arrow, but it's a line that goes straight up and down. That's basically your light source. So right now the shadow is coming straight down, and you can see it's coming straight down. But if you moved it, say you wanted to come from the left to the upper left to the lower right, you can see how the shadow source changes. So right now I just changed it a little. All right, let's take a look and see what that looks like. Okay, so that looks pretty good also. All right, so let's see where we're at, and then we'll make one final change. Okay, so again, let me refer back to the original just to show you how close we are. Just by clicking on these layer options, you can change significantly the look. So it looks like, other than the inner color, we've pretty much mimicked the result that we're looking for. So let me go in and shut everything off as far as the effects, and then I'll just add them in one at a time just to show you again what we just did. So we added a stroke, and that was red, and then we added a stroke of white, and then we did a pattern overlay, and then we added a drop shadow. So that's where we're at right now. So let's do one last thing, and that's to add a color on the inside. And let's go again back to our layer style and our blending options, and let's pick a color overlay. So let me just show you a little bit about blending modes before we start adding color. So let's go back to what it defaults to, which is normal. And normal basically is a very, very um, harsh or a very flat color. So you can't see the pattern through this. It's basically like using a paintbrush or a magic marker to color fully the area that you're adding the color to. But what we want to do is we want to show the underlying pattern that we put in. And again, let me just shut off the color overlay just to show you. So we want to show this pattern underneath, but with the blending mode of normal, we can't because it's covering everything. So what we're going to use is one of the, I think there's a couple of dozen blending modes, but we're going to use something called overlay. And overlay allows the color to be put on top of the pattern, and you can actually see the pattern through. So let's pick a color close to the final product that we're looking for. Below, I think it's something close to this. So I'm just randomly going around the color picker, just looking for a color that I like. And let's go with that one for now. And the other thing you can do is, in addition to using overlay and the color, you can change the opacity, which is basically how much of that color do you want to actually show in your image. If you make it 0, it'll just show nothing, and you'll just see the overlay of the pattern that we chose. But as you start adding the color, you can see it starts blending the color in with the pattern that we chose. So again, I'm just going to go to 100 here and just hit OK. So there's our image that we created. Now here's the one we were looking to do. So it's basically very similar. We just picked a different pattern and a different color on the inside. Okay, so let's just back away and I'll show you that. Okay, so effectively that's the tutorial, but I do want to show a little, I don't want to call it a trick, but it's kind of a trick to add all the work we've done with the effects and put it into a different logo. So I'm going to shut off this logo and take the one that we just created and move it to the bottom of the screen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in another blank logo. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take another logo and I'm going to paste it in. And it's an IBM logo. And let's size it just a little. So I'm going to transform it, scale it, and just bring it up a little bit here. Okay, so there's the logo. And I want to get rid of the background, so I'm just going to use my magic wand tool to highlight the white and just delete it. So now we have our clean logo. All right, so here's the trick. You come over to the layer that we just created down here, and if you click on the effects, if you hold down on the Alt key, click on the effects and just drag it to the new layer, those effects get copied over and you've saved yourself a lot of work. So if you liked most of what we did in the previous logo, you can simply, if you wanted to, go over and change, in this case, let's just change the color. Let's change the color to say blue. And let's make the shadow a little bit bigger, the distance away, make it a little bit bigger. And then in just a few seconds, you're able to create a different logo, okay? Or different effects on a logo, all right? So, all right, so that's the trick I wanted to show you. And that's really it. What you can use in Photoshop, just a few clicks can get you to a different look. Again, we just used the blending style options to make a change from a flat logo to what we see here. So let me shut off the effects. This is what we started out with, and just by a few clicks in a few minutes, we transformed it into this. And regarding the IBM logo that we see here, it was even quicker. We took this logo and we just copied the effects from the previous logo and made a quick change, so it was even quicker. So okay, so that's basic layer styles and blending options, and I hope you learned something here today. Thanks.